So welcome to the Pima 129 unit for classes or object-oriented programming. So what I did was I already created a class. If I just selected File, New Class, and generated a class. And this one doesn't include a main, and I'll talk to you about it why. So basically what we're going to be doing is linking this file with another file that's going to have the main. So in this instance, I'm going to make this class, and so this is for courses. So this is basically what classes normally do is hold groups of information for particular courses. And so I'm going to make this course, I'm going to make it one for the courses. So basically classes have two portions in them. They have methods, which are basically the functions within a class. And methods are usually just used for kind of modifying stuff within the class or bringing stuff in or taking stuff out. But they're usually not kind of general purpose. They're actually used to interface with the data of the class. And the data of the class, I'll start typing this sauce, are called attributes or properties. So the book calls them attributes, so I'll stick with that. So attributes are basically data within the classes. So for this is being a course, basically we'll have maybe some information with it. We'll call this public. So public is going to, or private I mean. Private is the permissions for this. So generally information within classes are considered, the attributes are usually private. So you can only access them through accessor methods, what we'll show later. So private string, I'll say course name, and then I'll leave this blank. And so I like to initialize all these values. So when this course first gets initialized, this will be the initial value if you don't set it. And so a private string, so we have course name, which will include, like, so it'll be CIS 129. We'll have instructor. Let's see, and we'll do private int enrollment number. We'll set this at 0. And then so we have these three attributes, and then now what we need to do is make something called a constructor. A constructor is basically when you initialize a function, a method. These are the values that go in there. So of a constructor. And then, so this will be a public, so the permission on this is public, so anyone can access it, and it's basically the name of the course. So it's going to be courses, and then you can pass in variables to this. So I'm going to have one that's called course name, so it's the same as above, and let me make that string course name string instructor, and make sure I spell it right, and string enrollment number. And then what I'm going to do is assign these values. So I'll say assigns values for instructor. And for this case, what I'll do is, so I'm going to type in this. So this refers to the attributes within this class, and within the class. And then these are the parameters which are external. So if I do this dot course number, the course name equals course name, what this will do, or what this command will do, is take the course name that you're passing in and assign it to the class course name, which is this value. And so you actually don't need to have this be course same, but a lot of people do that. It's kind of considered like a best practice. So I'm going to do this instructor, and so again, this value here will be, like, say I do Wagner, will be passed in from the constructor and assigned to this class attribute. And then I forgot this is an integer. int enrollment. Let me spell this right. This dot enrollment number equals enrollment number. And so I have these values, and then what I want to do is be able to access them. But before I actually do that, you know, like I've said before, I like to kind of keep on continually testing stuff as I go through. So notice here at files name courses. So as a reminder, your class name needs to match your file name. And so I have this saved, and then now I'm also going to make a new. I'll take this class here and I'll make one from scratch. I'm going to call this one public class let's see, public class, and I'll call this OOP example, so object-oriented programming example. And then what I want to do is make a public static void main. So I'm making basically a main function, string argv, and then place some values in here. So what I want to do is, let me save this first. So OP examples. So let me just test this out. So now I just realized I forgot to put an S here. So I'm going to save this S, compile all documents, and then notice how it's completed. But this really doesn't show anything. I really can't output anything. So I'm going to go back into courses, and actually I fixed it a little bit earlier. I had a C here. This should be an S. So I'm going to make accessors and mutators. So accessors retrieve the values, mutators change them. Also, they're called, more commonly, getters and setters, and you'll see why in a second. So I'm going to make a getter. So what getter is going to do is return the value. So I'm going to do string get course name. So notice how I'm doing this. There's no parameter, and what all this is going to do is return this dot course name. And then I'm going to make another one called string set course name. And the set one, I actually have to have, I'm going to have a string as input value, string equals, and I'll just call this course name like I did in the above. And I'll do this dot course name equals course name. And I am going to save this and compile current document. So missing return, oh, I need to have a return value here. Return. So I'll do, if I do Shift F5, that does it. So that's good. And then, so I want to make it for others. So it's going to be the course name instructor is going to be very similar. So I'm going to change this from get course name to get instructor. And notice here how I'm using what's called the camel case. Basically, the first letter of the method is, and then each additional word is uppercase letter. So change this here. These all match up. And so I'm going to save this again. And Shift F5 should compile it. So the compile is complete. And then I need to do enrollment number. So I do string get enrollment number. And this should not be returned here. This needs to be a void. This needs to be a void as well. And no return number on sets. You don't want to return anything. And so in this case, what I'll do is I'll do get enrollment number. I'll return this dot enrollment number, new string set enrollment number, and enrollment number. So you notice how the structure of these are very similar. So a lot of times you won't even see documentation, since basically all getters and setters are essentially the same thing. So this dot enrollment number equals enrollment number. And it gives a reminder, this is just the parameter value passed in. Parameter values have a higher precedent as far as the operating system calculating which ones they are. So even though there is a class that's enrollment number, if it sees the enrollment number as it passes as a parameter, it'll think it's the parameter one instead of the actual class attribute. So that's why we use the this as well. So I'm going to save S5, and let's see, I made a mistake here. Oh, this needs to be a int, and this needs to be a void. So ship F5 and application complete. And so what I'm going to do, go back to the OOP example 1, and so we have this, and so I'm going to say system.out.println, and I'm going to do course.get get course name, and Control-C, Control-5. Let's see what I do wrong. Oops. This is a method, so this needs to have parentheses at the end. It runs, or compiles at least. Let's see if it runs. So F2, and you can see it does test. And so what I'll do, so basically what you want to do is maybe you can change this up a little bit. So if you notice from the homework, it says make an instance. This is making an instance. So I have these values in here. So I'm going to make one that has basically the general stuff. I'm going to make another instance. I'll call this course Wagner. Those new courses, and then we'll just do this class, CIS 129, constructor Wagner, enrollment 30. And we'll do one more, courses. We'll do course Wagner 2, so I'm doing another course this semester, courses CIS 131, Wagner, so enrollment is 30 as well. And then just basically print out this stuff. So we'll do system.out.println. We'll just do it for one of them for time's sake. We'll do course Wagner. We'll do course 2. And then that dash n makes it go to the next line. Plus, and we'll do name space, and then we'll do course Wagner dot get course name plus, and I'll go to this next line here, plus instructor course Wagner.get instructor. And one more. And again, that \n basically says tells the thing go to next line, and we'll do enrollment. We'll do course Wagner.get enrollment number. And so I'm going to do control 5. So let's see, get enrollment number, and that, remember that's a method, so we'll keep the parentheses there. And then F2 will run it, so you can see I have my course here. Now say if there's an issue and I want to change the instructor on course Wagner 2, this is where we use the mutators. So I'm going to cut and paste course Wagner 2, and I'm going to do set instructor. So they decided to fire me for this class, and they probably put another instructor in there. So I'll do Engel as the instructor. And then basically I'll just copy and paste this. So I got course Wagner, I'll just change this all to 2. Control 5, F2. And so you notice I got course 2, I'll change this to course 3. So you see the course 3, got CIS 131, Engel, and enrollment 30. And so this is kind of the basic things, and these are kind of the basic mutators. But say you actually just want to, now actually, this is kind of a lot what methods do, is we want to have another class that basically just changes the value. So I'm going to call one, I'm going to have this void, and I'm going to call this one, instead of, and on top of just enrolling number, you can say, I'm going to have one that's called increment student. So what this is going to do is just add one student in there. So it doesn't take any parameters, but it's going to still change the value. So I'm going to do this dot enrollment number plus plus, and what this will do is increase the number of students by 1. So say for example I have this place up here, and then I'd say, okay, I'm going to set the instructor Engel. I'm also going to do course Wagner 2 increment student. So before, actually I'll copy and paste this, and then I'll put increment student. Oops. And then I'll do control F5, F2, and then F2. I run it. Notice how first time I run this before I do increment student, the student goes from 30 to 31. And this is an example of a lot of how you would change student, kind of manipulate code within it in a lot of instances. So this is your basic course stuff. We're not going to go into packages right here, but you can, if you put this into a package, so I think if you do new, oops, I want to do a new package.